This is EksAyn Anderson. Welcome to the Principal Podcast today. So today we're going to be talking about a subject that I think is really important to talk about. It's this concept that, frankly, I think the devil uses to confuse us. And I think what he does is he uses truth mixed with lies. And, I was reading in C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis had this, he wrote a book called The Screw Tape Letters. And these two devils are talking about how they're going to tempt people. And he says this, Master Devil trying to train an apprentice devil says this, because what we want if men become Christians at all is to keep them in the state of mind I call Christianity and. Christianity in the crisis, Christianity in the new psychology, Christianity in the new order. If they must be Christians, let them at least be Christians with a difference. Substitute for the faith itself some fashion with a Christian coloring. And there was another thing that C.S. Lewis wrote. It was actually the Chronicles of Narnia in the last book called The Last Battle. There was this, there was a situation where someone was pretending to be kind of this Christ-like figure in the Chronicles. And one of the characters there, Lucy, said this. She goes, then she understood the devilish cunning of the enemy's plan. By mixing a little truth with it, they had made their lie far stronger. I think this is really important to think about. By mixing a little truth with lies, they'd made their lie far stronger. And I think one of the things that is important to teach our kids is that because we live in the world we live today, that this kind of stuff is going to happen. I remember sitting at a slideshow at this dinner once, and they were trying to sell a healthcare cure. And I remember seeing some slides that had some truth on them, followed by a slide that I knew was clearly false, and then more truth. And so you had a slide that was true, 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 false, true, true. And I think that's sometimes what the world we live in, where there's stuff that's like, you could even be reading a news article and most of it's true, and then there's a little bit of false, and then the rest of it's true. This happens in advertising, it happens in the news, it happens even in a lot of part of our lives. So how do we teach our kids this? How do we teach our kids to recognize truth mixed in with lies, or lies mixed in with truth? I think it's important because I think even Christ was pretty adamant that this would happen. He said, in the last days, there will be false Christ, there will be false prophets. So these are people who are talking about Christ, or pretending to be Christ, who they're not real. They're not true. Why would the devil want that to happen? Well, my guess is he probably wants us to give up believing in what's really, really real when the false part is exposed. So if there's part of something that's false and we throw the entire thing out and say, well, Christ is false, then we've lost the battle. Do you see that? So how do we do that? I want you to think about that. How can I teach my kids, or my children, my family, to be able to sort out lies and truth that are mixed together? This is the Principal Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. So glad you joined. I am on a mission to help as many marriages and families and parents learn the principles and techniques that are going to help their marriages be better. And one thing I know about you, there are so many of you listening right now that have tips, that have techniques, that if you would just share them with the community, it could help. So please share them with the rest of us. Share them with me. Would love to hear them. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review. Let's do everything we can to help as many marriages as possible. I'm a huge believer that a wise man, Neil A. Maxwell, said, if we don't fix marriages and families, everything else we do will be like straightening deck chairs on the Titanic. I'm sure I didn't quote that right, but it was something to that effect. Let's go to the root of the problem and help marriages and families. Feel free to follow me on social media. Most importantly, learn to follow Jesus Christ, who is the principal giver, and let's share as much as we can with each other to make this a great community where we can help people. Thanks again for joining.